Hi, Wyatt White here with Wire Routines at Beads, Baubles and Jewels. Today we're going to do a very interesting bangle bracelet. We're going to make it out of this braid wire, and we're going to use a relatively new crimp that will hold it, but will also become a design feature of the bracelet. Here's our bracelet that we'll be making. It's a bangle bracelet. So you just start out by bending the wire around some sort of a form. This is the 3D bracelet jig. And just get it so that it's nice and tight. Take a flush cutter and cut it off about here. That gives you the approximate size. Now, if I were making this for somebody that I knew had an unusually large or small wrist, then you can adjust that as well. So you can start at about 9 1/4 inches, and I like to just eyeball it a little bit. Get it to about the right size. Then for the 12 gauge size, you would use the 12 gauge crimp. And those I would put, for this particular design, I'm going to put 3 of those on, and then I'll crimp one, and then go back and crimp the others in whatever design I want them in. And the last crimp, I'm going to hold in the largest of the crimp tube, in the largest of the crimp pliers, and I want that to extend out just about 1.5 millimeters, and I want the tooth of the crimp on the top. So I'm going to just flip this over a little bit and slide it over here because I'm going to crimp the left side first. Now, to be able to find the center location, you just push the wire over the top so you can see where it's going to fall about halfway, and just hold with your thumbnail. Slide the wire in, and then use with a single motion, just crimp down. See? And so the tooth of the crimp pushes down into the crimp tube and then down into the wire, and that will hold that in place. Now the opposite side just slides in, and you want to be able to place that crimp plier right on the top and get those in about the same place, and then just make one crimp there. So those indentations, normally without putting something additional in, would normally be on the underside so that it hides them. But here what we're going to do is we're going to place these very interesting little baguette Swarovski crystals. They're 3 millimeter by 2 millimeter, and they just happen, the pavilion of the stone fits just exactly in here. So now we can slide these around, and we're going to make the rest of the crimps. And these, of course, are just on here for design. So it's best to go directly across from this one first, and make sure that your tooth is pressing down from the top. Make sure you're in there just right, and squeeze. And come over here and squeeze this one, and then go about halfway here. Again, squeeze from the top, here and here, and then our last one. So when using these large crimp tubes, they're a straight tube. It's obviously much easier to manufacture those that way. Then you just take these bendable pliers and squeeze so that puts a little bit of a bend on these. And we want to put the bend on before we go in with the glue. So, and then we can just adjust the shape just a little bit. Now we've got our bangle bracelet. And this is a little bit large, but there's a couple of different things I'll show you at the very end how you can adjust that. So now comes the gluing part. Now gluing can sometimes be a little bit tedious, and it can be problematic. I like to use a gel glue that's very quick to set up. Problem with quick to set up gel, cyanoacrylate is the actual name of it, is it can cloud the glue can cloud the outside of the crystal. So what you want to do is you want to use the smallest amount of glue possible, and make sure that you have enough glue so that it fills the gaps. That's why I like the gel adhesive. You could also use a two-part epoxy, something that you have to mix up. That's a little bit slower. It doesn't give you the quick results that I like. What I also like to use is a little fan to blow on this while it's curing. So just take a nice pair of tweezers and get a hold of the stone, long ways. Then flip this so that you have the very tip there, and then turn this over. And then very carefully open your glue. And it's always good whenever using this type of adhesive to wear something on your clothing so you don't get any of this glue on you or your clothing. And then just very carefully, as you can see, the gel is starting to come out, and then just dab just very lightly on the pavilion of the stone. Don't get it on your tweezers or anything else for that matter. And then you just drop this right into the space. Just like that, and push that down and tap, tap till it's in place. And then we continue doing that until all 8 of those are set. Once all 8 of them are set, then you've got the bracelet pretty much finished. It's always good to let this dry and cure for at least 24 hours after you put the glue on. You may want to do 2 or 4 of these at a time, and then let that dry, and then go back and do that again. So I mentioned if the bangle bracelet is a little bit large, there's a couple of different things you can do. Take a pair of pliers. This is a bent chain nose plier, and you can make adjustments anywhere along this wire to be able to just kind of change the shape slightly just by twisting. And that's going to shorten the diameter of this bangle bracelet, so you can sort of customize it, which kind of gives it a fun, different look. So that's our warm-up. We'll be back with another wired routine.